the week, and that takes us to our lovely panel, our last of the semester. Darrell Copeland, Maggie Thach, Marcel Bourdase, the now famous Marcel Bourdase.
I paid him big bucks.
Your eyes are dry now.
They are. I paid him, I think, 20 bucks for, for that couple words.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get into this right away. NFL draft. I don't want to talk too much about this because it's been beaten into the ground, but next year, once again, us Fresno, us Central Valley residents are going to have to sit through 16 more Texans games, or a good amount of them, and now as David Carr each week gets reintroduced to whatever turf he's playing on because he's got no offensive line and he's got no offensive weapon. They've drafted Mario Williams, and now not only am I going to have to watch the 49ers and the Raiders, I'm going to have to watch a punchless offense with the Texans. What does this mean for Texans fans? We know. What does it mean for us Fresno viewers now?
Well, first off, let me preface this by saying, if you're not going to get Reggie Bush, and you need to protect David Carr, then DeBrickashaw Ferguson's the way you got to go, because he's going to be another stopper. He's going to be your Orlando Pace, that kind of guy.
Right.
But I mean, for the fans in the Valley that get to watch David Carr, he's going to be grass stained every game. He's going to be changing uniforms at halftime because of the weakness of the offensive line, and then you're going to miss that electricity that Reggie Bush brings to the team.
Right.
Fresno State fans saw it when he was with USC and ran all over him. So.
Right.
They're going to miss out on something special.
Is it time for us as Valley fans to think maybe it's time for David Carr to move on to another team?
No. I didn't get all the talk about he's done, he's not.
I'm not saying he's done. I'm just saying he's got no offensive line.
He has no offensive line, and that's the problem. I think that a lot of his lack of production over the past couple of years is because he's a little fidgety back there. I mean, he has no time to throw the football. Right. I mean, I think he's set a record for the most sacks in a 4-year beginning of someone's career, 3 or 4 years.
He breaks his own record, it seems like, every year.
Every year. So, I mean, right now, I think it was a bad mistake. I mean, you have to take Reggie Bush. He can change the game, the face of your franchise, and right now New Orleans is realizing that with, some of the fan support that they've gotten.
All right, let's get into the Bulldogs that were drafted this year. Maggie, as we look at the draft, Richard Marshall taken in the 2nd round. We've got a few guys drafted later on the 6th, and a lot of guys were actually signed. Right. Who do you see is perhaps being the guy who's going to be the best long-term pro? He's going to be in the league the longest, most productive.
Richard Marshall was picked in the 2nd round for a reason, so I'm going to have to go with him. And it kind of seems like, we were talking about this earlier, how we was expected to go earlier, but seeing stories that have been written on him, it really seems like now he has a chip on his shoulder, and he really is determined by just the way the quotes are, what he's saying, how the quotes are, the tone in which he's saying. Really does seem like he's out there and determined to make an impact.
What's the situation now that he comes into? Ricky Manning Jr. has left Carolina, which he went to Chicago, which essentially basically took Richard Marshall off Chicago's draft board. What's sort of the depth chart looking like over for Carolina, and what are his chances to actually get some playing time next year?
Well, right off the bat, you have Ken Lucas, who's a Pro Bowl caliber corner. After that, you have Chris Gamble from Ohio State, who took over for Ricky Manning as the number 2 corner and pushed Manning to the nickel slot. So Richard Marshall's going to have to come in and prove right away that he can guard the best receivers that they have. If he can do a good job in mini camps and fall and cover, a guy like Steve Smith, who's their best receiver, one of the best in the league, if he can do a good job on him, that's going to help his status. But he should be a nickel corner right off the bat, if not unseat one of them.
I don't see Richard Marshall coming in and being anything other than a 3. He's going to be their nickel corner. Ken Lucas, this is a guy who had a Pro Bowl season. Like you said, he had 6 interceptions last year. After that, Chris Gamble was the number 1 pick at Ohio State. They got him in the 1st round. He's supposed to be a shutdown corner. And he's coming in there, and nobody's going to cover Steve Smith. Steve Smith is going to make it. He's Reggie Bush. He's got that electricity, that ability to make people miss, and he's not going to get a chance unless somebody gets hurt.
Was there anyone that was not drafted, or perhaps someone who was drafted, that maybe surprised you, that you thought, well, maybe they should have gone in the draft?
Well, I thought from everything I heard, Wendell Mathis. I had heard that he was going to go 3rd, 4th round, maybe a little bit later, but that some teams like the Cowboys were interested in him. But, I'm looking for Adam Jennings. I said this last week, just talking to you guys. I think he's going to have a huge NFL career, special teams, and just kind of move his way up the depth chart with the Falcons. So.
Well, speed kills, right?
Yeah.
Speed kills.
Yeah, speed kills.
We're talking about a league now. Paul Pinniger was signed as a free agent quarterback, where Kurt Kittner had a chance to start some games. Quarterback out of Illinois. I know we were saying this before. I got to figure if Kurt Kittner is starting games in that league, Paul Pinniger maybe not going to be a starter, but he's got a chance to at least stick it with the team.
It depends on which Paul Pinniger it is.
First half or second half?
If you've got MPC Computers Bowl against Virginia, Paul Pinniger, or if you've got second half USC, Paul Pinniger. he's a guy that's capable of a lot of good things. You know, how fast does he pick up the playbook? I mean, how does he recognize the defenses in the NFL? He's going to be a number 3 at best, but you know, if he lives up to his potential, he could be a potential backup.
Maggie, are we starting to see a situation in which NFL teams may not be drafting, but they're at least signing Fresno State players partially on the reputation that precedes them from other Fresno State players that have played for Pat Hill?
Right. I think so, because the Fresno State players that are coming before are setting a good example of what Fresno State athletes can really do. You know, there's Logan Mankins, James Sanders out there that are making a big name for themselves and Fresno State as well, and that's all due to, you know, not all due, but a big part of it is Pat Hill.
And also we've got Garen McIntyre, a guy in Seattle who, again, characterized as undersized, not good enough, just as he was out of high school. And, of course, we know how he tore it up here for the Bulldogs. And he's a guy who may not be as big. You were saying he's got a real good motor, and that might be the key to his success.
Well, like you said, he came in as a true freshman. He played on the defensive line for Fresno State and tore it up there. From there, he's progressed. He's going to earn a spot on special teams with his ability there. He's a hustle player. He's a never quit player. And he's a player that learns quickly and enjoys a challenge. And there's not going to be a bigger challenge than playing in the NFL on an NFC championship team like Seattle.
I just don't know if he has the physical tools to do it. I mean, you can have all the heart in the world, but at some point, if you're not fast enough to react, it's going to be tough. And they have a good linebacking core if that's where he hopes to stick in Seattle.
Well, this will be an interesting draft to see how everything plays out in the next year. Of course, tickets for students already on sale, went on sale today. Another thing I want to get to, in the Collegian today, you, sir, wrote an article about the Fresno State baseball team, a team that's been playing better this year than they have the last few years. You said they're the most talented team, but not only are they not playing as well as they could be, they're not perhaps using the TEAM. Is that how you spell? They're not using the team concept maybe to the max.
Well, I mean, you kind of get a feeling. The clubhouse is as united as it's been in a long time, especially since under Coach Mike Batesel.
Right.
But, you know, you get a feeling talking to the guys, seeing how they act, hustling balls out, the kind of efforts they go after, you know, the inconsistency they show going after a ball, not going after it. It's kind of more about themselves sometimes. You know, sometimes you can hear the players walk around and you know, rehearse their stats right off the bat, what they are. And they're not really taking that play for the school kind of attitude, play for the fans, you know, get your body dirty. I mean, they're not really going after it as hard as the teams under Bob Bennett did. The teams that were just really gritty, small ball, pump out the wins kind of team.
I think it's a maturity thing. I mean, you have to learn how to be good. This is the first time in Batesel's time here that the Bulldog team has been ranked. And you don't just come out and build on that. I mean, it's guys who are sitting here and learning how to win, learning how to be consistent. They haven't had a season over 500. I mean, they've been roughly at 30 wins, so they're just trying to learn and get their feet underneath them. Let
me just say that when Batesel was at Northridge, same kind of thing here. He brought in the top quality players. All of them had dreams to go to the major leagues, same as the Fresno State players do.
Right.
The difference is they're winning together as a team. They're going to regionals. They're going to College World Series together. He has players that from that situation that go up into the major leagues, such as Robert Fick, Adam Kennedy. Those guys have made a living in the major leagues already. Now, he's bringing those same type of recruits into Fresno State, but they're not producing as well as those guys in Northridge did. I just think there's something a little different, and if you pinpoint everything, if you look at the consistency that they have, you know, the team effort is the one thing that stands out.
Go ahead.
If you look at it, they don't have senior leadership. They have their two big guns, and their big guns are all young players. So they need that leadership, and it'll come next year.
All right, we'll see. Thanks, guys. Thank you for your opinions, and thank you for the entire semester. This has been the Bulldog Sports Report. My name is Guy Haberman. Until next semester, thank you for tuning in.